Hello everyone, this is Remlace from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be continuing our brief look at the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. While these videos will typically focus more on humanity's actions throughout the timeline, certain important Xenos events will also be documented throughout. So without further ado, let's begin. The following account is of certain events taking place throughout M41. Because of how intricate and detailed the events of this time were, only certain key events will be mentioned, which in turn will be expanded upon in future videos. In addition, there is also a small chance for potential inaccuracies of specific dates due to contradicting sources. For events that occurred prior to M41, make sure to check out the previous videos in the 40k timeline. 050 M41. The Iron Hands chapter launches an assault upon an Eldari dig site upon the paradise world of Dawnbreak, engaging in a brutal battle alongside the Catachan Jungle Fighters Imperial Guard Regiment against the forces of Craftworld Alatok. Imperial forces crushed the Eldari before the Iron Hands abscond with the relics that were unearthed by Alatok, leaving the remaining Imperial forces at the mercy of Eldari retaliation. 139 M41. The forces of Abaddon the Despoiler complete construction of the War Master's newest weapon, an immense and powerful warship known as the Planet Killer. 392 M41. The Macharian Crusade begins, led by the legendary military commander, Lord Solar Macarius. Over 1,000 worlds within the Segmentum Pacificus are made compliant and brought into the fold of the Imperium, conquered at breakneck speed. 399 M41. Lord Solar Macarius perishes, possibly due to the actions of an Imperial assassin, and with his death, the event known as the Macarian Heresy begins. Macarius' 7 generals abandon their oaths of loyalty and begin combating against one another in an attempt to expand their own miniature empires. 405 M41. The Dark Angels chapter attempts to suppress the civil wars erupting as a result of the Macarian heresy. The chapter's Ravenwing Company discovers a high amount of activity relating to the Fallen, including the enigmatic being known as Cypher. The Dark Angels seek to capture multiple fallen angels during the Lythanos uprisings, but due to a chance encounter and subsequent disagreements with the Space Wolves chapter, many of the fallen manage to escape capture. 444 M41. The First War for Armageddon begins. Numerous cult uprisings begin to erupt throughout the multiple hive complexes of the Imperial world of Armageddon. These uprisings would quickly be quashed upon the continent of Armageddon Secundus, but the revolt upon Armageddon Primus would continue to pose a problem for Imperial forces. These cults would pave the way for the arrival of hundreds of warbands belonging to the World Eaters Traitor Legion, led by their demonic Primarch, Angron, launching a full-scale assault upon the world, accompanied by scores of demonic creatures. Logan Grimnar and the Space Wolves of his great company move quickly to provide aid to Imperial defenders. Angron is forced to delay his assaults to erect monuments to the Chaos Gods in order to provide him and his demonic forces the power to remain within the material realm. The Primarch, accompanied by his bloodthirster bodyguards, would eventually launch an assault upon the hives of Hell's Reach and Infernus, but Imperial forces barely manage to hold the line. Grimnar then unleashes his trump card, a full company of Grey Knights waiting in orbit. Angron would be banished back into the warp, but only 13 Grey Knights would survive the encounter. Following the banishment of the Primarch, the forces of Chaos would be swiftly defeated, but a cold war ensues between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition over the treatment of Armageddon's civilian population. 500 M41. thousands of individuals throughout the Imperium begin to suffer visions of the Emperor of Mankind weeping. All instinctively know that the Emperor sheds tears not for his own suffering, but weeps for all mankind. 635 M41. The Shrine World of Piety is dragged into warp space after becoming enveloped by a warp storm. 651 M41. Commander Puretide is born upon the Tau Sept world of Dalith. Puretide would go on to become a legendary commander during the Tau Empire's second sphere of expansion. 672 M41. The number of warp storms erupting throughout Segmentum Tempestus increases suddenly and exponentially. Psykers within the Orpheus sector begin suffering from prophetic visions and nightmares regarding a future rising darkness. The Inquisition works tirelessly to suppress all knowledge of this endemic. 692 M41. A mysterious void ship that was constructed from an unknown metal, known to Imperial forces as the Angelus Boat, is discovered buried deep within the surface of an unknown world. The Angelus Boat activates without warning before travelling into the depths of space. Imperial scholars would later speculate on whether or not this craft was Necron in origin. 731 M41. Commander Puretide is crippled in battle and retires. Following his death, an advanced AI engram is developed by the Tau of the Earth caste to act as a mentor to future Fire Warriors, including Farsight and Shadow Sun. 738 M41. The Space Marine chapters of the 26th Founding are established. 742 M41. The Damocles Crusade begins. The Imperium launches an assault against the Tau to halt the expansion of the Tau Empire and reaffirm their claim over the Damocles Gulf. The conflict causes heavy losses on both sides, but the Tau are forced to retreat for the time being. 745 M41. Hive Fleet Behemoth enters the eastern fringes of the galaxy, having been attracted into the galaxy by the Theros beacon over 10,000 years ago, and the world of Tyran is scoured of all life by the Xenos. Inquisitor Cryptman of the Ordo Xenos recovers Adeptus Mechanicus security footage, discovering the identity of the Xenos that assaulted Tyran. The race is henceforth known as the Tyranids, in memory of that now lifeless world. The Hive Fleet's arrival instigates the First Tyrannic War. The homeworld of the Ultramarines chapter is besieged by this new Xenos threat. Genestealers are officially recognized as belonging to this new and terrifying race. The Damocles Crusade is ended out of necessity, and the Imperium signs a truce with the Tau Empire in order to withdraw their forces to redeploy them against the greater threat of the Tyranids. Hive Fleet Behemoth is eventually defeated during the Battle for Macragge, but the entire First Company of the Ultramarines chapter is destroyed during the battle. 754 M41. After learning that Genestealers are a part of the Tyranid race, the Salamanders chapter purges the moon of Imgal, where the creatures were first discovered, of all life. 755 M41. The single largest Imperial crusade since the days of Lord Solar Macarius is launched in order to liberate the Sabbat worlds within Segmentum Pacificus from the forces of chaos. This crusade, led by Warmaster Slado, would become known appropriately enough as the Sabbat Worlds Crusade. 757 M41. The disease known as the Zombie Plague is first documented upon the world of Hydra Minoris, having been unleashed upon the world by Typhus, the Herald of Nurgle. The world would then be quarantined before its entire population would eventually succumb to the effects of the plague. 760 M41. A Tau military force led by Commander Farsight recaptures much of the Tau territory lost during the Damocles Crusade. As Farsight's forces battle against the Orcs upon the world of Arthas Moloch, Farsight becomes one of the first Tau to encounter demonic entities, after a Chaos Gate was activated. The demons are eventually driven back by Farsight's forces after the Tau commander acquires a mysterious sword known as the Dawn Blade, but all accompanying ethereals were killed during the battle. Farsight is ordered to return to the Tau Empire, but refuses, angered that the ethereal caste had kept the knowledge of chaos hidden from their people. Farsight instead consolidates his forces and establishes what would become known as the Farsight Enclaves, before going into hiding as a hermit, believing himself to be a danger to the greater good. The Tau Empire, under Ethereal Supreme Alnvar, declares him dead and suppresses all support for their former commander. And that concludes this portion of the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. Join us next time as we continue chronicling the events of M41. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those new to 40k, we hope you learned something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.